guys, it's Sayback here. Welcome back to my podcast. This is episode 1 of the Turning Point series, where every month we explore a single moment that changed the world forever. And today, we're talking about the day humans first stepped onto the moon. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Let's dive in. Live report from July 20th, 1969. After years of preparation and hard work, the United States is moments away from making history. 2 astronauts are descending towards the surface of the moon, while a third remains in orbit above. Millions around the world are watching, waiting, holding their breath. Fuel is running low, and if anything goes wrong, there is no rescue. But if they succeed, this will be the first time in human history that someone sets foot on another world. Alright, let's rewind a bit. The moon landing happened during the Cold War, a time when the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a race, not just for power or wealth, but for technological dominance. Every achievement was a statement, every mission a challenge. And when the United States landed on the moon, it wasn't just a scientific triumph. It was the cherry on top of a decade-long battle to prove who was the most advanced in the world. And space had become their battleground. The Soviets already had a head start, launching a satellite, Sputnik 1, in 1957. But the USA weren't going to give them the lead for long. They had made what seemed to be an impossible promise: to land a human on the moon and bring them back safely before the decade was over. The mission was called Apollo 11, and on board were 3 astronauts: Neil Armstrong, the calm and experienced commander; Buzz Aldrin, the skilled lunar module pilot; and finally, Michael Collins, the one who took the most dangerous job of all, the man who would stay behind alone, orbiting the moon. If anything went wrong, rescue was impossible, and the world held their breath as the 3 of them were launched into space. The crew travelled for days through space, slowly but surely approaching the moon. Everything had to go perfectly, every calculation, every movement. Even the smallest mistake would result in catastrophe. Then came the most dangerous part. Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar module, called Eagle. They began their descent to the moon's surface. Almost immediately, things started going wrong. Warning alarms were going off everywhere. The computer was overloaded. And worst of all, they were losing fuel. With seconds to spare, Armstrong took manual control and searched for a safe landing spot. One wrong move, and it was over. Then, the Eagle had landed. A few hours later, Neil Armstrong climbed down the ladder triumphantly and stepped onto the surface of the moon, therefore becoming the first man on the moon in history. That moment changed everything. It made history. The impossible wasn't impossible anymore, and this meant that so much more could happen. Scientists and astronauts could study outer space, other planets in the solar system, and beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Life could be found outside Earth if there was any, and we could look for it. And then the USA flag was planted on the moon. This wasn't just about the moon. It was about how we changed the way we saw science, technology, life, and humanity. It was the first time humanity had left its home planet and returned safely. It was a scientific breakthrough which changed everything and continues to do so. There are so many moments like the Apollo 11 moon landing which have changed humanity itself. But why is this one so special? Well, the moon landing proved that research could be done on outer space, and we could find so much more beyond the Earth, even beyond the solar system. There was life out there, and now we could prove it. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and if you did, make sure you subscribe to Say's podcast on Google Podcast and Apple Podcast. If you want to learn more about historical events like this one, which changed the world as we know it, make sure to tune in on episode 2 of the Turning Point series. I'll see you next time, and until then, goodbye.